We just made it to Kyiv. I'm here with Rob Potter. Rob, do you want to explain your role, what you do here in Kyiv?
Well, we're doing some research on how drones, cybersecurity, and electronic warfare is changing war in the world. So we're going to...
Yeah, it's good. Thank you, Rob, for bringing me on the trip. That's how I'm here. And this is my first experience in Kyiv. We've literally been here for like half an hour now, but it seems normal to me. I don't see Tucker Carlson's supposed, the shock troopers rounding up everyone on the street. You can just see, like, literally people are just walking, just literally normal. Like,
Yeah, it's a normal city.
it's literally a normal city. Like, people are very resilient here. It's amazing. And I hope I can maybe go to a church later on, because the whole Zelensky's banned Christianity shit.
Oh, we'll go to this, like, more people go to church
Yeah.
here in Ukraine than in Russia.
Yeah, literally. So
Some of the most beautiful churches in the
yeah,
world.
and I'm Greek Orthodox, and they're in communion with the Ukrainian church, so I'd love to go. So yeah, signing off. That's the first report. Wow. Wow. Behind me is a memorial to the men who gave their lives fighting for the independence of Ukraine. 11 Australians died, potentially even double that number. There are Australian flags, as you can see behind me. Made it to Maidan. Behind me is the Archangel Michael, leader of Heaven's army. In front is Mary, the Mother of God. And Tucker tells us that Zelensky's banned Christianity in this country. Here is a European country, 45 million European Christians fighting to defend their country and their nation, and MAGA wants them to be raped and murdered. Sick. We just went and saw Maidan. Very beautiful, very nice. But the cool thing here is that my friend standing next to me is literally now on the Russian terrorist wanted list.
Yeah, so I took a short holiday the other day, and it was my first holiday without a passport, and it was to Russia, my first time.
Yes.
I posted that I passed.
Tell us more about Kursk.
Well, it was a complete mess because the Russians had just started the counteroffensive. The North Korean troops had just been on the ground, and they had been absolutely smashing to pieces their own cities. The Russians actually blowing up their own houses, their own hospitals.
Did you see any North Korean soldiers?
I didn't see any up close, but we saw some munitions, like they had North Korean implants on them, which I took photos of.
And up to half of Russian artillery now is like coming from North Korea.
It looks like it, yeah, and
yeah.
a lot from China as well. But I spoke to Russians who are looting their own stores, and they were like, "Well, actually, things are kind of better under Ukrainian rule." But it was pretty dramatic. There was sort of grads landing everywhere. This is Russians blowing up their own towns, which, they tried to take this city in 2022, and 3 years later, the Russians are bombing their own towns and cities. That's how successful they've been with this invasion.
That's why. Sorry, I guess it's a funny way to do a kind of like walking podcast. Hello, madam. Hello. When you put it that way, it is really incredible. I mean, that's why it's so shocking that it appears that Trump wants to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. You were telling me you've just released a new opinion piece where you were talking about this is a military that's literally using donkeys to transport munitions, and yet apparently America wants this grand new alliance with them.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's so embarrassing. I mean, like the Russians, at this point, the Russian army are in an absolute mess. They're pulling people out of asylums. They're using donkeys on the front lines. Their economy's tanked, and half the Black Sea Fleet is at the bottom of the ocean. And right at the 11th hour, Trump pulls in and says, we're going to save the day. So by trying to basically rescue Putin, but I mean, coming to this city and seeing Ukraine for the first time, I don't know what you think, but there is so much beauty in this country, and you can feel everywhere you go just this sense of democracy and freedom as well, and openness.
Yes,
I mean, I've been openly gay here the whole time, and no one cares. It's very progressive, it's liberal, it's the opposite of everything that MAGA and the Russians have put out about here. What do you think walking around?
Oh, look! I've only been here for one day, but you hear you saw JD Vance the other day in the White House, and he's talking about the fact that Ukraine and Zelensky are rounding up every single young man off the streets, and they're like emptying the entire country of young men, sending them all to the front, and like look, I don't know if you can see across the road, but there's literally just like young guys like everywhere, just normal people walking about. This is this is a capital city in Europe. This is millions of people and scenes of normality in a major city like Kyiv, and then some of these MAGA influencers will go, oh, well, the war's fake. Look, they're all partying.
Yeah. The conscription thing is interesting. Yes, there's conscription in Ukraine because there's a war going on, and there has been a conscription of any war pretty much fought for the last 500 years in every country. It's normal. But
especially when it's total war, you're defending your country from genocidal invasion.
But what's different in this case is 99% of the people I've ever met across the front line, and you're going to meet when if you go to the front line, is people that actually put down their office keyboards, put down whatever they're doing, and they're volunteering to fight to save this country. Whereas on the Russian side, it's 100% conscription. Here, people want to fight. Conscription hasn't been en masse, and there's not that many videos of these kind of van things because actually most people here have stepped up and want to fight. They want to defend this country. I mean, this looks like Vienna, right? This is absolutely...
We're coming up right now to... What's this square called?
This is St. Michael's Square.
St. Michael's Square. It's beautiful.
This is where the tanks were that tried to take the suburb north of here.
Whoa.
Yeah, let's...
JD Vance is talking about... Tucker Carlson's talking about, wow, Zelensky's banned Christianity. I walked into a beautiful Orthodox church literally this afternoon, and everything's normal. You can walk into these churches, they're everywhere. Like all these grand squares, they're centered on, Christian saints, statues of Christian saints. Like, this is a very Christian country. And Tucker Carlson's all invented this narrative that Zelensky's trying to ban Christianity, destroy Christianity. Look at the beautiful domes behind us. But,
and actually, this is a deeply Christian religious country. And if you're going to be based MAGA, Mr. Guy, then actually this is probably one of the most highly concentrated Christian countries in Europe. And you can see this all over the place. People praying every day. It's beautiful. Go to Russia and it's just basically priests in costumes. It's a complete joke. So
the KGB priests.
So these tanks, there was a battle that took place.
This is crazy.
And it's only people don't realize just how close the Russians got to taking this city.
When I was coming into Kyiv this morning, we drove through Busha, and I didn't realize at first that we were in Busha. I looked at the map and I'm like, my God. And you actually get a bit of chills through you because like it's sad. It's this suburb of Kyiv, which you go through it. It's this beautiful dormitory suburb, beautiful buildings, and you could actually see families walking the streets. You could see mums walking dogs today in Bucha, which is amazing. Like they've rebuilt the whole suburb basically. But you go through it and you're like, this beautiful little suburb was like, it's now gone down in history alongside like infamous names like Guernica,
But how was it driving? I always find it strange driving from the road from Bucha to here, knowing that just how close that convoy was to here.
Minutes.
Like a 30-minute drive.
30-minute drive from the center of Kyiv. People don't realize how close they came. But they literally had the Russian special forces with a plan to execute Zelensky. They were just a couple of suburbs away from when
they were 30 minutes from here, and the Russian soldiers would have had a victory parade right where we're standing, and to the point where my friend had some of the jackets and the uniforms and medals that they had in that blown up convoy that they were going to wear here for the victory day parade.
It's solid, man. It's actually really solid. That's crazy. Holy shit. It's literally just got blown up. Let me just turn this around. I just want to show you. Holy crap. My God.
You'll see a lot of these more recently damaged if you go anywhere outside Kyiv too.
Wow.
It's kind of the first time I saw these tanks, I was shocked, and then when I go east, then you see them still with smoke.
It's just so interesting. I've never even seen a tank before, I think, so to see blown up. Wait, we never got to I don't think we got to the part where you literally got a terrorist wanted list against you. So explain that, if you now go to a country that has close links with Russia, for example, Armenia, Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
You could be extradited to Russia and face literally life in jail.
Would be, and it would be life in jail. It would be torture, life in jail, and probably would be killed there. There's a lot of people that have been captured. There's a Wall Street Journal.
Ivan Gershon, yeah.
Yeah, and this is because the Russians have been targeting journalists
and they do hostage swaps basically.
Yeah. So, this is what the Russians do. They target journalists, they target civilians. But what's crazy is people are like, Kaylin, do you feel scared from the Russians like now? And I'm like, yeah, but the only country, the safest country in the world for me to be is actually Ukraine.
Probably, yeah,
They
literally.
fucking infested every other country in the world with their spies and their agents. I would feel much safer here in Kyiv than London, because in this country you actually know where the Russians are, and then the other side of the front line over there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wow.
You know, you can see them. They're like 6-hour drive that way.
Dude,
Whereas in London they're in every bar.
Dude, this is a funny point, because like I'm walking with two dudes here. Rob, who's been sanctioned by the Russians.
Yeah.
So Rob, you're not allowed to go to Russia on holiday.
I wasn't planning.
Yeah. And then you've now been literally put on their like terrorist wanted list. What's the official charge that like why do they want you? Like it's just because you went to Kursk.
It's because I crossed past the border into the Russian Federation with the military, right? It's seen as charges of espionage. There's like a whole list of them that they
Rob had an interesting point before, because they've literally annexed like Kherson and everything. Like if you go into Kherson, even though it's like Ukrainian territory and the Ukrainians currently control it, like that would technically be seen as you've gone into the Russian Federation, which obviously it's not as serious as
I don't know anything about that. Yeah.
Look, it's obviously not as serious as you actually going into Kursk, but that's an interesting point that like they even think
60,000 people
Kherson.
live there. Yeah, so I don't know how that works.
Yeah, nuts, so nuts.
Okay, let's go into
Yeah,
the place.
I'll just pause it now, maybe.
Yeah.